Today we're going to look at a trade that's a little more recent than most of the ones I've covered, taking place in December of 2018, but a lot's developed from one of the teams in the 5 years since. And there have even been a couple trades in the last month that mean this tree can grow even more in the future. This is the Edwin Diaz trade tree. After the 2018 season, the Mariners were at an interesting crossroads. At times they looked elite, and they were nearly 20 games over 500 at the All-Star break, but a rough stretch from late July into August caused the team to fall out of the playoff race, and they finished with just 89 wins, 8 games out of the wild card. General manager Jerry Dipoto decided to sell off some pieces and enter a rebuild. Now the Mets were looking for reinforcements. They traded their second baseman Asdrubal Cabrera and their closer Jeurys Familia during the season, and they were looking to compete in 2019, so they made a deal with the Mariners to fill both of those holes. Edwin Diaz was coming off one of the most dominant seasons from a closer in recent memory in 2018. He led MLB with 57 saves, the second highest in MLB history. He was the winning pitcher in the All-Star game. He won the AL Reliever of the Year award and got votes for both Cy Young and MVP. The 24-year-old righty was under team control for 4 more years, so he was maybe the most valuable trade chip in the Mariners organization. Robinson Cano had been on track for a Hall of Fame career. The 36-year-old second baseman had spent the past 5 years with Seattle, generally performing very well with 3 All-Star appearances and finishing top 10 in MVP voting twice, but he was suspended for performance-enhancing drugs in 2018, missing half the season. And while he performed well in his 80 games that season, he was still under contract for 5 more years and $120 million. While the Mets weren't quite in their Steve Cohen era, they could afford to take on Cano alongside Diaz. So here's the trade. The Mets got Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano along with $20 million to help pay for Cano's contract, and the Mariners received 2 major leaguers, outfielder Jay Bruce and relief pitcher Anthony Swarzak, and 3 prospects, pitchers Gershon Batista and Justin Dunn, and outfielder Jared Kelenic. So how did the Mets do? Well, Diaz became their closer. He had a rough 2019. While his strikeout rate remained elite, he pitched to a 74 ERA plus and gave up a career-worst 2.3 homers per 9. In the lockdown-shortened 2020 season, he rebounded. He did only save 6 games of his 10 opportunities, but he improved his ERA plus to 2.46, and he dropped his homers per 9 down to 0.7. 2021 was just as good. While his ERA plus dropped, he posted 32 saves, and his underlying numbers were strong. He dropped his whip, home run rate, and walk rate. In 2022, Diaz was lights out, pitching as good if not better than his last year in Seattle. He put up career-best 297 ERA+, and he struck out 17 batters per 9. He made the All-Star game, he made the All-MLB team, he won the NL Reliever of the Year award, and he received votes again for both Cy Young award and MVP. After the season, he hit free agency, but he came back to the Mets on the largest contract ever for a relief pitcher, 5 years and $102 million. Now, during the World Baseball Classic in March 2023, Diaz injured his knee celebrating, and he missed the entire season recovering. He's expected to return as the Mets closer in 2024. In his 216 appearances as a Met, he's put up 96 saves and 5 WAR. Cano slotted in as Mets' new second baseman in 2019, and he had his worst season in over a decade. He finished with an OPS plus under 100 for the first time since 2008, and putting up a career-worst 39 RBI. But in 2020, he rebounded. He put up one of his best seasons at age 37. In 49 games, he slashed 316, 352, 544 for a 143 OPS plus. After the season, Cano tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug again, and he was suspended for the entire 2021 season. When he returned in 2022, he was terrible. He slashed 195, 233, 268 for 44 OPS plus in 12 games. In May, the Mets released him. In his parts of 3 seasons with the Mets, Cano hit 24 home runs, 72 RBI, and he slashed 269, 315, 459 for a 105 OPS plus and 1.1 WAR in 168 games. So altogether, the Mets have gotten 6.1 WAR out of this trade, though that's almost certainly going to increase when Diaz comes back. He's under contract through 2027, so he's got at least 4 more years where he should be a Met and contributing to this trade. So the Mets got decent value here, but how did the pieces they give up do for the Mariners? Well, Jay Bruce came off the bench as a backup outfielder and first baseman for the Mariners in 2019, and he was pretty good. While his bat-to-ball skills had declined somewhat, he still had plenty of power, slugging .533 and hitting 14 homers in just 47 games with Seattle. In June, the Mariners flipped him, and he produced .3 WAR in his time with the team. Bruce was traded to the Phillies for minor league third baseman Jake Scheiner. Scheiner bounced around the Mariners' minor league system for the next 4.5 years. He never got called up to the majors, and at the end of the 2023 season, he left as a free agent. Anthony Swarzak joined the Mariners bullpen in 2019. He was not very good. In 15 appearances, he pitched to an 85 ERA+, 1.6 whip, and minus .3 WAR. Then in May, he was traded. Swarzak was traded to the Braves for relief pitchers Jesse Biddle and Arodys Vizcaino. Biddle made 11 appearances out of the Mariners bullpen in 2019, and he was quite bad. He pitched to a 46 ERA plus and 2.4 whip. He put up a minus .6 WAR in 11 innings, and he was claimed off waivers by the Rangers in June. And Vizcaíno never pitched for the Mariners. He was out for the year at the time of the trade, and he left as a free agent after the season. Gershon Bautista appeared in 8 games with the Mariners in 2019. He wasn't good. In 9 innings, he pitched to a 41 ERA plus, 2.4 whip, and minus .3 WAR. He didn't play in 2020, and he was released prior to the 2021 season. Justin Dunn became the Mariners' number 3 prospect after the trade. He debuted in September 2019. He made 25 starts with Seattle over the next 3 years, and he was pretty good, with a 107 ERA plus and 1.5 WAR. But the Mariners' solid defense behind him was masking some rough underlying numbers. His FIP was over 5.5, and he was walking almost as many batters as he struck out. The Mariners decided to act while Dunn still held some value, and they traded him before the 2022 season. Dunn was packaged with outfielder Jake Fraley, pitching prospect Brandon Williamson, and a player to be named later. They later sent pitching prospect Connor Phillips, and they were sent to the Reds for outfielder Jesse Winker and third baseman Eugenio Suarez. Jesse Winker was coming off 2 phenomenal years with the Reds, but he struggled in 2022. He hit just 14 home runs and 53 RBI, down from 24 and 71 the previous year, and slashing .219, .344, .344 for a 103 OPS plus, the worst of his career, and minus .3 WAR in 136 games. He was left off the postseason roster amid criticism for his lack of work ethic. After the 2022 season, Winker was paired with depth infielder Abraham Toro and sent to the Brewers for second baseman Colton Wong. Wong was originally set to platoon at second base, but he did not play well. Through 67 games, Wong slashed .165, .241, .227 for a 34 OPS plus and hit just 2 home runs, putting up minus 1.3 WAR. In August, he was released. Eugenio Suarez was coming off the worst year of his career, where he hit below the Mendoza line and was below replacement. He became the Mariners' starting third baseman in 2022, and he rebounded well. Despite leading the AL in strikeouts, he put up a 129 OPS plus. 2023 was a slight step back. He led the AL in strikeouts again, but his OPS plus dropped to 101. The Mariners decided to cut costs after the 2023 season, and with Suarez set to make $11 million in 2024, they traded him. He put up 53 home runs, 183 RBI, and slashed .234, .327, .423 for an OPS plus of 114 and 6.7 WAR with Seattle. Suarez was sent to the Diamondbacks for depth catcher Sebi Zavala and relief pitcher Carlos Vargas. Zavala will likely back up Cal Raleigh for the 2024 season, and Vargas will probably get some time in AAA, but he also may see some action out of the bullpen. Jarred Kelenic was the big centerpiece of this trade. He became the Mariners' number 2 prospect. He debuted with the Mariners in May of 2021 after a little bit of controversy. He claimed the Mariners had refused to call him up in 2020 unless he signed an extension, which he didn't want to do. General manager Jerry Dipoto responded by saying Kelenic was not yet ready for the majors. And in 2021, Dipoto was right. Kelenic split the season between AAA and the majors, and while he destroyed AAA pitching with a .624 slugging percentage, with Seattle he slashed .181, .265, .350 for a 72 OPS plus in 93 games. And somehow his defense was even worse, leading him to finish with a minus 1.8 WAR, which was third worst in baseball among position players. In 2022, Kelenic began to figure things out on the defensive side, but he was even worse at the plate. He was elite again in AAA, but in the majors he had a 55 OPS plus in 54 games. He got some playing time in the playoffs with 4 starts in left field, but he went 2 for 17 in the Mariners' 5 games as they beat the Blue Jays in the wildcard series and then were swept by the Astros in the ALDS. In 2023, Kelenic was viewed again as a breakout candidate. He spent the offseason working on a new approach at the plate that would hopefully help him hit major league pitching, particularly breaking balls, which is something he'd struggled with. And the hard work paid off. Kelenic cemented himself as the Mariners' starter in left field. In 105 games, he slashed .253, .327, .419 for an OPS plus of 109. It was also the first season where he was above replacement value, bringing his career total to 0 WAR. He still struck out 31% of the time, so there's room for more improvement, but at just 24, Kelenic appeared to have turned the corner. Then we hit the 2023 offseason, and the Mariners surprised everyone by trading Kelenic. He finished his 3 years with the Mariners, hitting 32 home runs, 109 RBI, and slashing .204, .283, .373 for an 85 OPS plus and 0 WAR in 252 games. Kelenic was traded in an admittedly odd deal, along with starting pitcher Marco Gonzalez and oft-injured first baseman Evan White, to the Atlanta Braves for relief pitcher Jackson Kowar and pitching prospect Cole Phillips. We haven't really gotten any clarity on why this trade happened, but Gonzalez and White were due a combined $19 million in 2024, and the belief is that this trade and the one I mentioned earlier, sending Suarez to Arizona, were to cut salary. The Mariners had to include Kelenic to get the Braves to take on money. Now, Kowar and Phillips are both still in the organization, Kowar is likely to make some appearances for Seattle out of the bullpen, but where Phillips is going to play is unclear. He spent the last year and a half recovering from Tommy John surgery, so he has yet to play a professional baseball game. Altogether, the Mariners have gotten 5.7 WAR out of this trade, and they've added other pieces just to get this far. So my winner of this trade is the Mets. They got an elite closer, Cano wasn't that bad for them, and most of the pieces the Mariners got didn't pan out. This would be more of an open question had the Mariners kept Suarez and Kelenic this offseason, but trading them for so little means this trade is all but over. The Mariners' remaining pieces here are a backup catcher, two replacement-level relief pitchers, and a pitching prospect who spent his entire pro career injured. It's not what you want when you trade an elite closer at his all-time high in value. Anyway, if you made it this far, leave a like down below and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to have a new trade tree coming out every week, so stay tuned for the next one, and leave some more recommendations. I've loved seeing what everybody wants to see. Up next is going to be the Ketel Marte-Gene Segura trade between the Diamondbacks and the Mariners.